some time and I was feeling a little chatty today, so we're gonna do a knit and chat. I've done one other knit and chat, and in that one I was also working on the same project. This is a sibling sweater that I'm working on with some scrap drops alpaca air. I'm on a very relaxing back and forth stockinette part of the project, no increases, no decreases, so I can just go. I personally really enjoy doing purl stitches. I love good purl stitch. The first thing I want to talk about doesn't really have much to do with fiber arts, and I hope that's okay. I have thoughts, I have questions, and I have minimal answers. The first topic is about aging and some of my fears around aging. And a lot of the fears are around the physical portion of aging, which isn't where my fears really lie. I mean, it's easy to say now, but I'm not personally all that concerned about gray hair or getting wrinkles. My fears are mostly around, I don't know if personality is the right word, but the idea that I'm gonna change as a person as my life goes on, because what I notice, and this could just be my experience, which is why I want to offer up this conversation to you to get your opinion as well, and seeing where do you disagree with me, provide your input. I'm not being super eloquent right now, but basically when you are in your first 20 years of being alive as a human, that is when there is just an incredible amount of change over a very short period of time. And I feel very much like that. I feel like I just went through so much change, and I'm continuing, but it went from being a very aggressive slope of change, and it's kind of curving and leveling out slightly. Of course, it's never gonna level out, and I don't want it to. That would be boring if I just never changed throughout my life. That would be upsetting. But I'm concerned because I can't predict the ways in which I change. Aren't you precious? You probably can't really see her, but Pippin, she's got her chin resting on the yarn right now. Oh, girl. What I hope for is that I can grow to be more confident, that I can care less what other people think. But my concern, the way I see it, there are three options for me. One is that I maintain the same level of caring what people think about me as I currently have, which I would like to avoid personally. I would like to get better at that and grow as a person and find that self-assurance. Option two, the most ideal option, is that I do grow as a person and I learn to not let what other people say about me or think about me weigh so heavily on how I perceive myself and the decisions that I make. And option three is the one that I'm really afraid of, which is that I'll stop caring what people think, but it'll come at the cost of losing my sense of compassion and empathy. I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm the most compassionate or empathetic person in the world, but I don't know how to say this. I've seen people grow so bitter and cynical about the world because their experiences have been admittedly horrible, and it's shaped the way that they see the world, and it's shaped the way that they treat the world. From looking at their lives, it's usually pretty understandable how they got to that place. And I'm afraid that something like that's going to happen to me because I don't want that for myself. I want to not care what people think, but I also want to be empathetic and compassionate. In the context of crafting, I want to use whatever yarns I want to use without caring that other people are going to disagree. In my ethics, morality, and yarn video, just as an example, I got so many comments of people saying, I can't believe anyone would ever use an animal fiber. That's so abhorrent. And then there are people saying, well, I can't believe anyone would use cotton with how bad it is for the environment. And oh, you should not be using bamboo yarn because, and this was something that I admittedly, literally just forgot about. I knew this, but forgot to bring it up in the video. The conversion of bamboo fibers into viscose to be a workable fiber. It's a whole thing. I'll see if I can find a video or a resource that talks about it, and I'll link it in the description if anyone's interested in learning more about that. And then so many people being like, is it really that hard to just never buy synthetic fibers ever again? Can you please just stop using synthetic fibers? So for literally every single fiber that was mentioned in the video, there was someone saying, don't ever use that fiber. And so no matter what you do, you're gonna piss somebody off, which is not new. That's not a revolutionary concept. I admittedly get nervous now. I'm nervous anytime I have to talk about a project and bring up what yarn I'm using, because that's opening myself up to judgment from others, which is gonna happen. And I just wish that I could not care so much about it. But I'm worried that if I learn to not care, it'll come at the cost of compassion. And what I mean by that is I'll stop caring and I'll be almost angry about it and angry about other people's opinions, when I want to still be able to consider other people's opinions. I want to challenge my beliefs. I want to be open to growth. I want people to be able to change my mind. And this is such a complex topic for me to explain, and I should have written something down because I didn't have anything prepared. It's a generic topic that I haven't talked about, so I'm just spilling out. This is a stream of consciousness. That's what this is. It's a stream of consciousness towards you. So my question to people who are watching this right now who have a little bit more life experience than me is, does it ever get easier? What makes it easier? How do you feel about this? Do you feel like mental flexibility is important? Do you feel like, how do you feel about that? And then maybe young people who are thinking of the same thing. Does this concern you as well? Where do you want to be? What do you perceive as sort of the goal? I also worry that I will become afraid of someone changing my mind. I grew up being involved in a community that rejected anything, and this is not speaking for everyone in that community, but a lot of people in that community rejected exposing themselves to something that might challenge their beliefs. They didn't want to entertain the idea that something could potentially challenge their beliefs. And when they did expose themselves to something, they weren't actually listening to consider, they were listening to argue or defend, which isn't real listening. And I just never wanted that for myself. I want to be able to read a book and not be afraid of the words in it because I'm not scared of having my mind changed. That's what I want. Am I making sense? I really don't know. All right, I'm gonna let that topic be because I feel like I'm just gonna keep repeating myself if I keep talking about it. And I wish that you were here with me so that we could have a back and forth conversation. My conversation of aging is also not over yet. Something else around the topic of aging that's not really a fear of mine necessarily, it's just something around aging that I would like to open up a discussion for, and it involves everybody's perspective. Everyone's perspective is welcome in this next part here. I mean, it's welcome for all of this. I don't know. I just want to make it very clear that your opinion on what I'm about to say matters, and your input matters, because I am just one perspective in a topic that requires the perspective of many. So let me explain a situation to you to add a little bit of context. About a year ago, I was involved in a pretty heated discussion with a relative, and I wasn't heavily involved in this discussion. I was kind of sitting and listening to everyone's different perspectives, and there were like 5 different people involved in this discussion. It was an intergenerational discussion, and I say the word discussion lightly. At some points it did grow to be quite contentious. And to be fair, it was on a very hot button topic. And in that conversation, the younger people who were involved in that conversation were talking to me after and saying, it drives me crazy that they won't listen to me or find my opinion valid just because I'm young, as if I have nothing to offer because I'm young. It doesn't mean I don't know anything. And then the older people involved in this discussion, when I say older, I mean above the age of 65, also were talking to me afterwards, and they were like, I'm scared that no one will listen to me because I'm older and they don't want to listen to me, and I'm scared that the younger generations will never get to hear my opinions and no one will take me seriously. It was wild to me that these 2 different perspectives were experiencing the same thing, and I don't think realized that they were experiencing the same thing. And I'm very thankful for that moment, because that's a lesson that I otherwise worry I would not have learned. So I guess my question to you is, do you feel like you're not taken seriously because of your age? It doesn't matter what your age is, but do you feel like you're not listened to? And this is just a general call for advice for the older, more experienced people in life watching this right now. What advice do you have for a young person like me? Just in general. You can interpret that however you want. And then also, if you feel like typing out some comments, what about the younger generations bring you hope? What do you like most about the younger generations? And then my question for some of the younger people watching is, what about the older generations do you like? What do you respect? What do you appreciate? Because I think we've heard enough about the discourse of pitting different generations against one another. We've heard all the complaints. We're aware of them. I want to hear some of the appreciation. What do we think the other generations are doing well? I personally really appreciate following older content creators, and know that when I say older, I'm not using that as a derogatory term. I know that in my experience, there is no agreed upon terminology. I'm just referring to anyone that has more life experience than me. I'm currently 25. I might be 26 by the time you're watching this. So just know when I say older, I just mean anyone that's literally older than me. I'm in my mid-20s. That could mean someone that's 35. It could mean someone that's 62. It could mean someone that's 78. One content creator that I really appreciate is Danish Musings. I've watched a lot of her knitting podcasts, and I love it because I harbor so much respect for that woman. It's very clear watching her videos that she has so much experience. She's been doing this craft twice as long as I've been alive, and that cannot be discounted. She is incredibly intelligent. She knows what she's doing, and she has very valuable opinions and experience that I love learning from. And so I am currently in search of other content creators that are also older. I know it's difficult because the world of the internet may not feel very inviting for a lot of people who are of older generations. So a lot just aren't as active on the internet as like young people are. And by younger, I mean Gen Z and millennials. Fun fact, I'm right on the border between millennial and Gen Z. So I do have, when you take the stereotypes of Gen Z and millennial, I have a fun mishmash of both of those. And I appreciate that. I want to segue into the conversation of hope for the future because I find that I'm getting rather cynical, and I don't enjoy being cynical. I feel like the more time I spend on the internet, the less hope I have for how the future will pan out, because I grew up during the 2008 financial crisis, that fun little recession where I had a parent that wasn't working for several years, and it was a financially very difficult time in my family. And then I graduated college at a time when nobody was hiring because I graduated college in 2021. And so many of my friends and classmates were unable to find jobs in the career that they had worked so hard in. Many, because internships were required at my school, many people had quite a bit of experience and had really beefy resumes and were still unable to find jobs relating to their college degrees. I'm currently living in a time where many people my age simply cannot afford to have children. I have no wiggle room in my budget. All of my money, my entire paycheck goes towards student loan debt and rent. That is the entire paycheck. My husband's entire paycheck goes towards food, and then stuff like our phone bill and insurance and saving up for a car, because we both drive cars that they're over 20 years old and are falling apart. In fact, the mechanic has actively laughed at us, saying they're some of the most rusted cars that he's ever seen. And mind you, I am blessed enough to have spending money. My husband and I both have allowances that we are allocated each month. It's the same amount of money every month, and we both have the same amount of money that we can spend on whatever we want. I typically spend it on yarn and interior decorating. That is what I spend my money on. And I am thankful that I can see a $100 couch on Facebook Marketplace and purchase it, and thankful for that. But it also took me 10 months to save up for a new couch. It took me 5 months to save up for a new vacuum. Anyways, I just know that a lot of people my age in my same financial position of like, they have big kid 9-to-5 jobs that previously would have been enough to fund buying a house and having several kids and having enough to buy cars when you need to and go on maybe a vacation every year, are no longer paying enough to do that. there's nothing left over. If me and my husband were both to sacrifice our entire allowance fund money budget and instead spend it on savings, it would barely put a dent in anything. Like, that is not where most of our money is coming from. I think it's currently at about 5% of my income that is spent on non-essentials. Anyways, it's like, where am I supposed to get the money to have kids? Now, I personally don't really want kids, at least right now. I reserve the right to change my mind at any point in time, but I don't want to be a parent. I don't want to be a mother. It's just not my calling. I respect the position of mothers enough to know that it's not for me. But I would like for it to be more of an option, because right now it's not. Just like, I complain about not being able to afford a house. Like, I'm going to be at the current projections about 40 years old when I'll be able to purchase a house, unless some financial things change. That is the current projection. And that's kind of sad with how much money I put towards my savings. And it makes me really sad. And I'm less sad about the fact that I live in an apartment. I'm more sad about the fact that it's not a choice. And the autonomy of it has been taken away. And we're not even, as far as the housing market goes, the United States, and where I live within the United States, is not even the worst. Like, I think Australia and the UK are really struggling right now. Everywhere in the world is like really feeling this hurt. So I know I'm not alone in this. It's just, it's frustrating. From that frustration, my cynicism is born. It's really hard to have hope for the future when companies keep buying houses to move us into a renter society, and it's scary and it's difficult to remain positive. Like, I don't mind living in an apartment when it comes to like actually living in an apartment. What I mind is knowing I could be priced out of my home at any point in time. I could be priced out of my city. I could be priced out of an entire region. And that's a really terrifying reality to live in. And homeownership is highly romanticized, and I know it's not as romantic as it seems. But once again, it's the fact that it's not even a choice. Here's a moment of some true honesty. Never again do I want people I know who own homes, have lived in homes for years, to tell me, oh, I wish I could just rent again. Renting is so nice. Because they have the option. They're choosing to live in a house. They can go back to renting at any point in time. I know it might be a little bit more complicated than how I'm just phrasing that, but I'm not accepting that statement or argument. I get wanting to say that as sort of like providing some sort of sympathy for the situation, but it doesn't help. It just makes me feel worse. I feel like I was slapped with reality in 5th grade with the 2008 recession. And it was just made very clear from a very young age that finances are extremely volatile. And it feels to me like things have gone from bad to worse because I haven't lived through a time period where there was any sort of plentifulness, abundance. It just hasn't happened in my lifetime. I've just continued to see things get worse. And so it's really difficult to imagine a reality where things get better. So if anybody has words of wisdom, reasons I should be hopeful, I will take whatever you got. These are some really heavy topics. I'm so sorry. You're probably like, I'm just trying to eat my breakfast and Isabella's over here just making me sad. In lighter news, so as part of my fund money allowance, I allocate $50 a month and I put it into a separate savings account that I call my birthday fund. And I get to spend it on my birthday on whatever I want. And my birthday is coming up. I am an Aries. I don't know if that matters to you. I don't know if you care. And sometimes if I like get a little bonus at work, sometimes I'll put like a little bit, like maybe like $800 or another $50 every once in a while. And this year I spent my birthday money. I spent it before my birthday, but that's okay. I bought myself for my birthday one of the most ridiculous things I've probably ever purchased, and that would be tulip shades. If you haven't heard of them, tulip shades are lampshades that go over the like boob lights, which are builder grade lights. There's a word for it, but light fixtures, whatever. I'll pop up a picture somewhere. Because I work from home and I spend so much time in my house, I really care a lot what my home looks like. And so I bought tulip shades. They were so expensive. I bought 4 of them to cover up the boob light in my dining room and then 3 in my entryway, because it's like a hallway entryway, so there's like 3 staggered, and 2 of them have arrived so far. I'm still waiting on the other 2. I know they're not going to be everyone's like favorite thing in the world, and not everyone would like them and like the look of them. I love them. It has completely changed the vibe in my apartment. I'm loving it. I'm really so happy with how I have spent my birthday money this year. Last year, I bought a paddleboard with my birthday money and some nice expensive yarn. It was actually, so I bought hedgehog fiber yarn, and it was like their sock yarn, and it was $35 for, I think it was like 100 grams. I don't remember exactly. And it was in their birthday cake colorway, which I thought was perfect as my little birthday treat, getting the birthday cake color. And it's just such a pretty colorway. So I made a pair of socks. I made the Smart Heart socks by Kuda Bakika. These are the most worn socks in my hand knit socks collection. I love them. And I constantly wear them with shoes. I wear them multiple times a week. I've had them for I've had them for about a year now, and consistently worn them, constantly washed them a lot. They still look like they're basically new. And at the time of buying the yarn, that was the most expensive yarn I had ever purchased in my life, the most expensive yarn I had seen or heard of in my entire life. And it was a big deal, and I was like, I'm never gonna spend money like this again on yarn. It was just so crazy. But I've knit several socks before that and after. I've knit several socks with less expensive yarn, and a lot of that yarn is wearing pretty quickly. And I'm starting to feel like it's kind of worth it in some cases for me to buy the more expensive yarn option if it's gonna last like a lot longer, especially for socks, because it just sees the most wear and tear of all the different yarn. Of all the different knit objects, socks definitely receive the most brutal treatment. And so I think in future socks, because it's been a minute since I've made socks, I think I'm gonna try buying like the fancier yarn. It seems kind of worth it to me. My leg hurts because of the position that I'm sitting in right now. And so I'm gonna finish this row and then stand up and go to the bathroom and see if there's anything else I want to talk about. My leg wouldn't hurt if Pippin wasn't sitting in the spot where my leg's supposed to go. I'm hopefully going to be getting a new tattoo pretty soon, and by soon I mean in the next like 6 to 8 months. I got my first tattoo in 2019. It's a half sleeve on my like upper arm, and I really love it. And then my second tattoo I got in 2021 and 2022 because it required 2 different sittings in like December and then again in like March or something. On my leg that is assorted plants and flowers and a bear. Also love that. And I wanted to get my arm sleeve completed, so I wanted to finish up. So my half sleeve covers the outer portion of my upper arm, and I want to get the inner portion and then this whole forearm part covered. And so I reached out to my tattoo artist because I've gone to the same tattoo artist for both of them, and she is incredibly talented, very good at what she does. And because of that, when you go to her for an idea, it could be a year until you actually have your appointment. So I reached out to her, I think in January, maybe December. And I don't even have my consultation until the end of April. Who knows when I'll actually be getting the tattoo at that point, because I don't want to get the tattoo like in the middle of summer, only because I like doing water activities and going paddleboarding, and you really should not have a fresh tattoo getting river water on it. So basically, if she can't do the tattoo before like the end of May, then I'll have to wait until the end of summer, so like maybe September, to get it done. And here's my idea as I described it to her. So for a little context, my upper arm tattoo is wild roses because I wanted a plant that is native to both Minnesota and Oregon. So Minnesota is where I was born and raised, and Oregon is where I currently live, and I absolutely love living in Oregon. My tattoos don't really have all that much meaning. I think that's one of the misconceptions that there are about tattoos. I think there are tons of different reasons to get tattoos, and only one of those reasons is because there's something that just has so much meaning to you, which is beautiful, but it's only one of the reasons. I think my reasons for getting tattoos, I have many. I think one of the bigger ones is I wanted something to help bolster my confidence, so it kind of falls in line with the same reason that someone might get their ears pierced or buy a new pair of pants. Or get a new haircut or dye their hair a certain color. It's just an external thing that helps make me feel more confident. Yeah, like I said, I have wild roses up top, and then on my leg I have more wild roses, trillium. What else do I have? I gotta check. Okay, wild roses, trillium. Oh, ginkgo. How could I forget about the ginkgo? And then I have a bear. So for my arm sleeve, my tattoo artist specializes in birds and nature scenes. So I decided to lean into that. So I'm requesting a couple different types of birds, specifically a great blue heron. And then I would like a second bird if she can fit it in somewhere on the arm. And I gave her a couple different options of what she wants to do. It's the kind of tattoo artist where I don't really tell her exactly what I want and give her example images. So I just gave her a list of birds that I would be chill with, and I just gave the requirement of like, yeah, I really do want a great blue heron, but for the second bird or third bird, if you can fit a third one on there, it's dealer's choice from this provided list. And then I wrote down like a number of plants that I would be chill with. I kind of want almost a water scene, and we'll see what happens, because with this tattoo artist, basically what happens is I don't get to see a drawing of the tattoo. I don't get to see the concept until the day I show up to get the tattoo. And at that point, I can say no, and I can say I don't want that. I think this plays into the importance of finding a tattoo artist that you love. So I love every single tattoo she's ever done. When I look at her Instagram, there's not a single tattoo she's done where I was like, no, I don't really want that on my body. And the reason that was important to me is knowing I can trust her to create something I'm gonna love. If she creates something with these written parameters, it's gonna be amazing. So that would really stress out a lot of people, but I like it. I really don't mind. That's just something I'm really looking forward to. So that's the plan. I know not everyone likes tattoos, and you're super entitled to your own opinion. I know when I get tattoos, I'm fully aware that people are going to judge me or draw some sort of opinion or make assumptions about me based on my tattoos, the same way that people are going to make assumptions of you based on how you dress yourself and how you style your hair and how you do your makeup. And I am totally okay with that, because this is something that's so deeply personal that I don't think I would ever let someone else's opinion influence how I choose to tattoo myself. Like, that's just, it's too big of a deal to me. It's too important to me to let somebody else get in my head about what I should or should not do. I trust myself and I trust my tattoo artist. Yeah, I'm so excited. It's really hard to wait now that I know exactly what I want and I have already reached out to her. I so want that instant gratification, but it's gonna be on my body forever. So does it really matter if I get it in May or September when I'm gonna have it for the next, hopefully at least 50 years? Not really. I've made some pretty good progress on this in our little chat time together. I think I've done about 1.5 inches, which is fun. Yeah, I think that's it for today. I think I'm pretty talked out, and I think you have just done a great job of listening, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. And I think I'll leave you with a quote from one of my all-time favorite movies. It's called The Last Word with Shirley MacLaine. Please don't have a nice day. Have a day that matters. Have a day that's true. Have a day that's direct. Have a day that's honest. A nice day. You'll be miserable. Have a day that means something. Thanks for watching.